Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of discussing the one-year MBA programs in India. And today we are going to discuss about the IMA PGPX program. And we have a panel of students and the graduates as well as admits who will discuss their experience in terms of the admissions process as well as what your expectations should be from the course. And feel free to please introduce yourselves to us. It will be a pleasure to know you. Where are you joining us today from? And while we are discussing with the panelists, we have a set of questions ready. In case you have any other questions, feel free to post it in a comment and we will be taking it up during the course of this discussion. So we have Sandeep DC and Sandeep Agarwal with us, and they are both graduates from the IMA PGPX program. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for joining us. And so, how has been your experience with the whole admissions process? So, first, tell us about your profile. Sandeep Agarwal, in case you want to go first, please. Tell us about your background and your work experience till date, and how did you actually come across the IMA PGPX program? Hi, Chetan.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us from Bangalore. Yeah, please go
Hi,
ahead.
Shruti. Hi, Shruti, and everyone present over the call. First of all, Shruti, it's great to see you again. It's always a pleasure interacting with you.
In
So,
fact, yes.
yeah, considering my background, so hey, everyone, my name is Sandeep Agarwal. So, I'm a 2017 graduate from NITK and overall a 4 years of WorkX. Started my IIM Ahmedabad PGPX journey in session like 2022-23, right? So before IMA, I was working with Boston Consulting Group into management consulting. So, and I wanted to get into B school. It was always on my mind. So that's where I came. And because I already had a 4 years of work ex, so I wanted for a 1 year MBA program. That was very much clear to me that I wanted to get into 1 year MBA. So in the top programs that I made, IIM Ahmedabad PGPX was on one of my top of my list. So that's where I applied for it and finally, got into it. Yeah.
Great. And that's been a very long and a fruitful journey indeed.
True, true, true.
Um,
Yeah.
yes.
It's been
Sandeep,
amazing
please
journey.
share.
A roller
Of
coaster
course.
of yeah.
Yes. Hi, Ajinkya, and hi, Arpit. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah. Sandeep, in case you would like to go ahead next with, your background and how did you come across the one-year MBA program? Tell us about your professional experience till date.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Nice again connecting with you after a long time. So,
Yes.
hi guys. So, I'm Sandeep here. So, I come from an engineering background with close to 6 years of experience. I was initially working with Oracle Finance, then moved to pharma consulting and worked with a firm called as ZS for close to 2 years. And then post that, I moved to Novartis and worked there for close to 2 years. So, as Sandeep again said, MBA was always there in my goals. So, while filtering out the executive programs that were available, and given that I had attempted the GRE rather than the GMAT, so I was left with a few options, that is ISB, IMA, and IMB. So, these were the schools that I had applied for, and luckily I was able to make it through IMA. So, that's there. And finally, passing out the 1 year course, the rigor that we all have been through at IMA.
Excellent. Ajinkya, thank you for joining us. So, please share your background and the professional journey that you have had till date, and how does the MBA fit into it?
Yeah, hi Shruti. Nice to connect again. So I am a mechanical engineer. I did MTech from IIT Delhi as well, right after engineering, and then I joined Hero Motocorp in the R&D department. I was working at R&D. After growing into the career, learning about how things work up in the R&D field for a few years, uh, I saw that the growth that I wanted, I couldn't get being in the same field. So mostly in terms for higher growth for prospects, to be able to change industries, to get various means the experience of various functions and go into the higher management roles. That is why I then decided to go for an MBA for the growth prospects, and later on deciding on the MBA, considering that all, my experience until now, I wanted a 1 year MBA rather than 2 years. Uh, didn't want to spend 2 years learning again after so much of the learning that I had done until now. And I'm the being one of the best in terms of career growth in the world actually right now. So it was a clear choice. I had applied to all the one, EBC and ISB. I got ISB and Ahmedabad, and chose Ahmedabad. And yeah, it was a really great decision. Uh, I was able to move from R&D to management consulting, and yeah. So let's see how the career growth progresses from here. Thanks.
Correct. And just for the, sharing the information with the viewers, we actually have a very, very diverse panel over here. So we have Arpit, who's joining IMA PGPX from the banking sector experience. Ajinkya joined from an R&D sector experience. And Sandeep DC, he joined from his experience from analytics consulting. And Sandeep Agarwal had joined from management consulting experience. So it's a very rich and a diverse panel, so feel free to share your questions and bring up your questions for us to discuss over here. So Arpit, thank you for joining us, and please share your career journey till date. And you have a banking sector experience, that's a very niche experience. So how did you compare and evaluate and decide on going to the IMA PGPX?
Yeah, hi Shubham, thank you for having me. Well, I have a civil engineering background and I worked with L&T for about 2 years. And after that, my aim was to go for an MBA, a regular 2-year MBA. But I took the CAT in 2018, but could not make it to any of the niche B schools at that time. And SBI was kind of my backup plan over there. So I went into SBI, but then I was bound by the bond period of 3 years over there. And by the time I made it out of there, it was already too late to go for a regular 2-year MBA. So I decided to explore for 1-year MBA programs. So as far as evaluating criteria was concerned, first of all, obviously was the academics, and second was the brand name. So that's where IMA took the top spot. And third criteria, I think for every aspirant has to be the placement records and everything. The career trajectory after an MBA. So that was the third criteria for selecting IMA. And I could not get through the round one that I applied, but I reapplied in round two. I improved on my mistakes that I made in round one, and I was able to convert in round two. So that has been my experience so far.
Excellent. And the very unique point about the IMA PGPX admissions process is that in spite of having three admission cycles, you can actually apply in all the three cycles. So, you can always work on your profile, work on your application, and look at yourself differently and apply in, if you don't make it in round one, you can apply it in the second round or the third round. You have opportunity of doing that. And probably this is one of the, I think, the only schools across the world which allows you to do that. So that's how open the system is. And in case you just look at the IMA PGPX admissions process, they do require the GMAT or the GRE submissions. And this is for the recent cycle that has just completed. The online GMAT was not accepted for the admissions process. So we can assume that in the next cycle as well, the online GMAT score will not be accepted. So people who are going into the GMAT, going into write the GMAT very soon, they should look at, if you are very keen on the IMA PGPX program and other IM programs for that matter, they should look at writing their test on the site on center. And the IMA PGPX process again is very unique. At the onset, you just need to submit an application form. So whether it is just the application form or there's something more to it, we'll just hear from our panelists over here. But coming to the application, the process itself requires you to submit the application form. Once you are shortlisted for the interview, that is when you need to submit the essay. So you don't need any essays initially. So you'll need to submit 3 to 4 essays after your shortlisting, and after your shortlisting is announced, and then you need to submit around 3 to 4 essays within 4 to 5 days of a time span, which is when you will also get the appointment for the interview. So there's no letter of recommendation in the process. You need to submit the details of your recommenders. That is it. There is no specific letter of recommendation that needs to go from your recommenders, and a one-page resume. So again, this is also something that sets it apart from the rest of the admissions processes across the schools in India. Most of the schools are not asking for a resume, so over here you need a one-page resume. So it's, when you have ample time, it is worthwhile to start working on your resume as well. So the moment you send your essays, within 4 to 5 days, you'll get an interview appointment. That is the stage when you have to present yourself towards the panel in person or virtually, depends on what information is passed on to you. And that is when the extempore and the panel interview is conducted. So the process looks very simple. It is very, very typical. And let us hear from our admits and the graduates about how the process was for them. And I believe, Sandeep and Arpit, you applied through the GRE score, right?
Yeah.
So what was your experience of working on the GRE, and what strategies and resources were helpful for you, while you prepared for the GRE, and what was a good timeline on preparing for the GRE as well? So in case Sandeep, you would like to go ahead
Yeah.
first on this.
So, sure, ma'am. So I started off with my GRE preparation 2 months before my date. So I started off by initially taking my date, finalizing my date, and then started working 2 months prior to that. So my as an like the quant section is quite easy to go through it. So it's only the verbal side that you have to work on, especially the words that you have to work on. So that takes a huge amount of time, especially. So, and I use the official resources and the official mock test that you generally have. So, one advice is basically start off by giving a mock so that you understand where you exactly are uh, are there in this. You get a base score and then you start working on where building your vocabulary and your quant. So, given that it's a time-based exam and you don't know which exact section would be grilled. So it's basically section of 5 sections that you get, and one is your test that they do it for their internal assessment. So you can't just rely on quant or work. So you need to have both your sections strong, especially in a GRE section. So that's one thing. So focus on both rather than any one section.
Okay. Arpit, what would be your suggestions on working on the GRE?
Well, as Sandeep said, it takes the quant part is very easy. I think it's about sixth or seventh standard, in my opinion. However, the verbal section is really tough. It focuses heavily on vocabulary part. So I think flashcards and word meanings, one needs to be very careful with those things, and it really needs a lot of preparation, especially the vocabulary part. And reading comprehensions are at par with GMAT or CAT. However, the vocabulary, I would really suggest someone to go through vocabulary, start working vocabulary, like memorize 20 to 30 words every day. So that will really help with the verbal part. As far as resources are concerned, I think there are plenty of apps available. I use the Magoosh 5 pound, the Manhattan Prep 5 pound book. It had lots of practice problems, and I found that sufficient for preparations.
So one
Right.
more thing here for the
Yes.
GRE flashcards, I think the Magoosh app, the
Yeah,
flashcards that come through
Magoosh.
them are really good. So it gives you an a limit of close to 30 to 40 words that you can do as a memory test every day. So those flashcards are really good.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing the information. So Sampath here has a question that what does IMA look for in candidates applying for PGPX? So Sampath, I think to answer your question, the first part of this question is the GMAT or the GRE score along with your academics, and we'll be coming to the rest of the parts, shortly with the panel in just a few more minutes. And Chetan, thank you for sharing your questions. We'll just be taking them up in a moment from now. Right. And Sandeep and Ajinkya, you applied through the GMAT score, right? And what it was a very long journey, working on the GMAT. So what were the strategies and resources that were really helpful for you, considering that people are right now working on the GMAT and they are planning to apply for the first round, which is probably sometime in the end of August?
Okay. So, okay, like I can go first. So, so for me, like I took an offline coaching, so I did not refer to any other resources apart from that. So, the study material for that my coaching institute gave me for the preparation of the exam, I just followed that. And apart from that, once I was finished with my material, each and every question, like I made use of four, like the free mock test. So if you go to mba.com, you can get free GMAT, two mock tests free of cost. So you can utilize that. And if you want to purchase more, you can purchase more. So I would advise that once your material is finished, you can move on. You should definitely give mock test. And for your preparation, see, there are two ways. Either you can take an offline coaching, or you can take an online coaching, or you can go by yourself. It really depends on you. What do you want? Where are you more comfortable? I was more comfortable with an offline, education offline coaching. So I took that for my preparation. And yeah, so for quantitative ability, my material was there. For verbal ability and for the remaining two sections, everything material I had, I just kind of followed that. And one advice that I would definitely like to give is that try to get a very high GMAT score. You know, I think the average GMAT score is like 715, 720, something around that. It's very high. And but also there is one advice that I would like to give to all candidates is that a high GMAT score doesn't guarantee your admission into IMA or any other B school. I have friends who were rejected even at 760. So, please focus on your application.
Yes. And Ajinkya, your thoughts on the GMAT preparation and what were the important strategies that helped you?
Yeah, on the similar lines, Quant was easy for GMAT as well, and mostly the main section that we as Indians need to focus on is verbal. Uh, in terms of verbal, there is sentence correction, critical thinking, and reading comprehension. The more than 50% of my time went into sentence correction mostly. I took help from eGMAT. There is online platform named eGMAT, through which I could give multiple tests so that I could assess where I'm making mistakes. And I was able to improve throughout by understanding where I was making mistakes in sentence correction in the initial stages. And after I completed sentence correction, critical thinking also took some time. Reading comprehension came a bit natural to me. I think when I started enjoying the whole process of this giving this test, trying to see where I'm making mistakes, trying to get better at these things. As I started enjoying the whole GMAT test taking process, I think I got much better after a certain time. But yeah, it at least took around 4 months for me to keep on improving myself continuously throughout the process.
Correct. And a follow-up question to Sandeep, what you suggested is that Chetan is asking us how high should the GMAT score be? So I'll just take up this as the first response on this. So Chetan, I think how high, if I look at a bandwidth, the average is always across the whole batch. So you can do the math yourself. So if it is 710 or 720, if that is the average, then there is always a range. So we have seen people getting in across the bandwidth, because the GMAT is not the only thing that the school considers. However, having said that, it is always a very individual perception, as well as where you're coming from, what background you are bringing to the class, what is the diverse experience that you add to the class. So if you consider all of that, that is a very important part of your application process. And Sandeep, in case you want to add anything in terms of how high is the GMAT score that they should look at.
So yeah,
What
Shruti,
are
as
your
you
thoughts on
rightly
that?
yeah, so Shruti, as you rightly mentioned, it depends on what background you are coming from, because schools want to have diversity in their cohort. Suppose there are a lot of engineers applying, so of course the cutoff will go high, maybe for engineers, like 750, 760, or 730 type. Suppose people from say hospitality background or from say medical background or apply, for them the cutoff may be a bit low. So it really depends what background you're coming from. And so as Shruti, you rightly mentioned, there is always a range to it, that the admits that are coming from, but a high GMAT score doesn't guarantees your admit into any B school, and a low or a medium GMAT score doesn't guarantees your rejection from a B school. It all depends how your application is coming out as a whole package in front of the school.
So
Correct.
I can give an
Yes, please.
anecdote.
Hmm.
Sure, ma'am. So I knew few candidates who got an interview call with a 670 GMAT score, but few candidates with having 730 didn't get a interview call. So it's basically a combination of your GMAT score and your application. So it's always better to focus more on your application.
I think this is a good time to take up, Sampath's question, which says that what traits in candidates is what, what does IMA actually look for in the admission in PGPX? So, according to your experience of the admissions process, what do you feel has been a very important part of your application, or maybe your experience through the application process? So, we could start with maybe Arpit first because he's been through this the most recent.
Yeah, as far as my application was concerned, I tried to show a lot of taking initiatives as one of the traits and leadership, and maybe driving a little bit of change in my office. That was the things that I tried to show. Besides, other than that, I tried to show some extracurricular activities as well as co-curricular, extracurricular activities that I've had over the years. And not just in that, I went way back to first standard, second standard. I started training them, evaluate each and every achievement that I've had. That formed as a part of the application process, which called a shortlisting for the interview as well. So I think not just academics, but co-curricular, extracurricular activities as well as I think leading and taking initiatives was a major part of my application.
And Sandeep, in case you would like to go next as to, what was important for you in terms of putting up a strong application at IMA.
I think as far as traits are considered, so schools are looking for leadership traits, that, okay, whether this person has shown some sort of leadership traits, in the past, whether you are a manager, whether you are a team leader or not. But leadership can be shown even if you are not a managerial position, not in a managerial position. So, you have to bring your story out, I would say, like, I think each one of us has a story in our professional and personal backgrounds. So you should be able to make that story come out from you. That should reflect in your application very clearly. Things like leadership, managerial abilities, and doing impactful work. So schools are really seeing for that the candidate who is sitting in the class of IIM Ahmedabad, is he a leadership material or not? Can I transform this person to higher positions or not? PGPX is a program which gives the managers in the mid and senior level to the industry out there after 1 year. So the schools look for this thing, that can I give, transform this candidate to the right positions after 1 year? Has this person got that sort of abilities in him or her or not? That is what they are looking for.
Right. And Sandeep, in case you would like to go next.
So, just adding on to what Sandeep said, so apart from your management skill and your leadership skills, so one thing that they typically analyze is what is your contribution in the work that has been carried out. Like, are you aware of the end-to-end work streams that you have worked on, and what was the key business question and what was the key business outcome that you delivered? So they are involved in the entire process that they want to understand, like what was your individual contribution and how did you add value to it. So I think if you can work on this particular field, like what is your contribution in that particular work that you have worked on, and how did you help it raise the bar, and how did you help elevate the results that was being presented. I think this is the key trait that they're looking out for. Like, are you adding value to the work that you do, and are you aware of the value that you are adding? So the second part holds more value for any interview panel, especially at IIM Ahmedabad. So they want to know whether you are aware of the value that you're creating for your clients or in any work that you
Excellent.
do. So that would be an important part.
Excellent. And Ajinkya, what are your thoughts on, what is IMA PGPX looking for when they are reading through an application?
Yeah, on the similar lines, yes, leadership potential, whatever the work that you have done, how can you show the leadership? How can you bring your stories? How can you bring your functional expertise? And how clear are you? As in, how does it fit in the whole management perspective? How does it fit in your future goals as well? So that clarity of mind is also something that they look for. And how do you present all of this is also very important. And then having a strong communication skills
Yeah.
I think
So
he got
coming to, I think he got disconnected. Yeah. So Chetan, coming to your questions that, what are the positives of IMA PGPX over the IMB EPGP? Again, the positives are very, very, individual. You have to decide in terms of, what you are looking at from a program to be able to see that, yes, IMA, whether you can fulfill it at IMA PGPX
and
or
yes
the
in the
IMB
interview.
EPGP. I think you're muted, Ajinkya.
Yeah, actually, I have having a lot of network issues right now.
No problem. We'll
Sorry
just
for
come
that.
back to the question in a moment. No issues. Yeah. So, Chetan, I was answering your question on, the positives of A versus B. So that is, a question that only you can answer. We've had a similar session with the IMB EPGP, graduates as well as admits, and I think you could go through that. That will give you a lot of inputs as to, how it relates and how the program relates to you. Another very good way of deciding on that is to talk to more alumni, more graduates who have, gone through both of these programs and see, okay, you have to have your own checklist as to what is important for you, what are you looking at the end of the program, and how does it really relate to, what the program is delivering. So are there any differences in the curriculum? So there are definitely differences in the curriculum. However, when you're looking at a 1 year program, you can, assume that they are all preparing you for a managerial role in the future and a senior management, growth path. So given that growth path, there would be similarities, there would be different ways in how they take it up. What suits you the best is something that you need to, research on those programs and then decide. And I'm already earning 32 plus lakhs, and will I be able to see any hike in the post MBA salary? The best way to answer this question is to understand as to what is exactly most important for you. Is it a salary? Is it a career path that you're looking at? Is it a kind of a transition or maybe a lateral shift that you're looking at? So, salary probably is not always the main criteria. But yes, since you have a very specific question, it is a very good idea to connect with the school admissions team, share your resume with them, and see what they have to say in terms of analyzing your resume and mentioning that whether you are a good fit with the program or not. So the deciding the fit is the first step of deciding whether you really want to apply to a specific program or you don't. So I think that is one exercise that you need to do, and extensively and exhaustively, because this question cannot be answered by any one single data point. You have to see what really matters for you, and then how do you really find the worth of the program with respect to your career goals. Right. So we've gone through the GMAT and the GRE, and I think Sampath, this also answers your question as to what IMA looks for in the admissions process for the PGPX from the admits. So a very unique part of the IMA, the admissions process is the interview process, which composes of the extempore as well as the interview. So we would really love to hear from you as to your experience of the extempore, the preparation, and the interview process at the IMA PGPX, which is very very unique, a very unique experience for all of you, as well as something that will add value to the future applicants. So Ajinkya, in case you would like to go first on this. Are we connected? Arpit, you could take it in the meantime.
Yeah, the interview process, in my opinion, was a very grilling one for BGPX, because the extempore topic can be anything and everything. I mean, you cannot prepare enough for these topics. I mean, you can prepare by reading the opinions and op-eds from various news articles, various outfits. But what they will ask at that moment, we never know, because the kind of topics that I got, I could never prepare for them. I mean, the first topic the topic that I spoke on was on diversity in the workplace, and I could either take a for position or an against position, and I had to defend that. And when you start speaking, you get hammered with a different viewpoint by the faculty. I mean, I speak one word and I get another sentence from their end. I spoke another word, another sentence from that end. It became very difficult to defend. So that's a difficult part extempore. As far as the interview is concerned, it focused more on my workings, my most recent workings of the banking sector. I think the professor was a finance professor, because he delved deep into the banking sector. He did not ask me questions. He threw abbreviations at me and told me what is this and what is that. So I did require deep industry knowledge, a deep understanding of what I was working on. And it was As far as the work experience interviews was concerned, if one is thorough, we are thorough with the sector which we are working on, with the industry, that will be easy, relatively easy, but we cannot prepare enough for extempore. And one advice I would like to give to everyone is to keep a light atmosphere, because if we get stressed, then that makes difficult to converse effectively. So this was something that I practiced in my second interview. So I kept a light atmosphere. There was little laughter here and there. So I think that also helped me get that convert. So that's all from my end.
Excellent. Excellent. Jinkya, are we connected? Would you like to go ahead on this question about discussing about your IMA PGPX interview experience, the extempore as well as the interview?
Yeah. Actually, the most help I needed was in terms of interview only. After GMAT, it was the most of my efforts went into preparing for the interview, uh, preparing for the questions that might be asked. I prepared for a whole lot of questions, as well as the extempore part as well. I prepared for extempore. How can I structure my thoughts? How can I present them in the best possible way? And yeah, I think the I had a lot of practice, and the practice I think paid off for me. And, yeah.
And you incidentally had an experience of interviewing with ISB as well as with IMA PGPX, right?
Right.
How were the two interviews different, and how was the experience different, and how was the preparation aligned in that way?
Yeah. In terms of ISB, the interview will be taken by alumni, so they are looking for a lot of something quite different in terms of they'll be looking to see how will this person be able to
I think we again lost him. Sandeep, in case you would like to go ahead, just connect.
Yeah, okay. So I think, as Ajinkya was mentioning, so in case of FIMA, so the interview is taken by the faculty. And this faculty is the same which have been taking interviews for thousands of candidates from, years, from decades. So I think one advice that I would like to seriously give is, for when they are
and
interviewing
how
you,
does it
keep.
fit in, how you present your thoughts in extempore, that also matters. And I think there is some lot of lag in the
There is
connection.
there is a lag. Yes, I think that's there.
I think Ajinkya, you can remove the blur. I think the blur is causing the
Okay.
You
the
could
delay.
probably put off your video as well in case you think that will help.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so as I was saying, the interview in ISB is taken by alumni. They look for completely different things. They look for how this person is able to gel well with the whole batch. How will he fit in with the batch? Uh, will he be able to work in teams? And how does he work? And what extra does it bring to the team as such in the batch. In terms of the interview is taken by the professors. They try to gauge the candidate's way of thinking. A important part of that is extempore. Means, what, how do you bring out your knowledge in that short amount of time and present your arguments in that extempore? Uh, Really shows them how you will be performing uh, during the classes as well, so that they see a lot of class participation in the class as well. I think that is something they're looking for. And yes, in terms of overall experience, they want to have diversity in the experience. So that is also something that the professors would like to see when they are trying to form a complete batch as such.
Right.
So,
So, Sandeep, you were adding something to this.
Yeah, so what I was trying to say is like, the professors, these are the professors who have been taking interviews from decades, thousands of candidates. So the advice to aspirants that I would like to give is please be genuine in your interviews. Don't try to bluff, be genuine, show them your true potential, because if you'll bluff, they can easily catch it that you're bluffing. So please be genuine. Please give mock interviews with your friends, with your mentors, with your consultants, whoever you are preparing with. Please try to give mock interviews so that you are well prepared for the interviews, for the questions that might come up in front of you. That is one advice. And also for the extempore part, you really cannot prepare for it. Just be kind of aware that, okay, what general questions can come up in front of you. So you have to take a stand, as Arpit was mentioning, that you can go for it or against it, and the faculty will make their best efforts to kind of break you. But what they are trying to test you is your patience, is your rationalization of the stand that you are taking. Can you be easily moved from what decision you are taking or not? These are kind of the things, the qualities they are trying to test through extempore. So please be confident in that. And whatever stand you take, just try to back it up with good rationalization, a good reasoning for why you have taken up that stand. And please be polite. The faculty will make their best efforts to break you, to test your patience. So be prepared accordingly for that.
Yes. And Sandeep, your thoughts on this? How was yours? Was a very unique interview. I think you did not even have an extempore attempt at all, right?
Yeah, I
So
wasn't
how
given
was
a,
it?
so I wasn't
Yes.
given an extempore question as such. So it was more of my grilling. So the faculty who interviewed me was also researching on the pharma healthcare, especially in the US healthcare domain, and I coming from that domain, so it was more of grilling on my work ex. So it started off with how is the US healthcare sectors. It finally went down to the GTM strategy that I had worked on for a particular drug, and the professors were aware of the research that is happening on that particular molecule and everything. So that is they were more inclined towards what was the business, how is the business looking at these problems and how are they solving it, and what was your impact in that sense. So then it moved on towards the Indian pharma healthcare sector. What can the things that can be learned? So there were discussions regarding drug pricing, patenting, licensing, and all such things. Apart from that, in terms of the extempore, I think what the faculty here judges how critical are you able to think when you're under extreme stress. So it's like two faculties will be firing at you left, right, and center, and on the spot you have to critically think and answer their questions, supporting by the facts that you know or you feel by countering them with facts. So I think it's more about on the spot critical thinking under extreme stress that they're testing about. So it's better to take a moment of pause when they ask you a question, reframe your answer, and then put it across rather than just trying to answer their questions on the go. So it's okay to take a moment, reframe your answers, and then say it across. So that would help you in the extempore, especially when they're
Yeah.
cross questions.
Yeah. So there's technically no right or wrong answer. It's about how you are answering and how you are taking up the questions. That is probably going to be more important as to, your evaluation on the interview part. Right. I think we've lost Arpit. Once he joins back, we'll ask him. He also interviewed with a lot of programs. So, Sandeep, coming back to you, tell us about a day in the class at the IMA PGPX experience. Just hold on to this question a moment. I have Arpit joining in. Um, Arpit, are we connected?
Yeah, I'm connected. I just issued. Hello, can you hear me?
Arpit, are we connected?
Yeah, I'm connected.
Yeah. So Arpit, I had a follow-up question with you, for you. One is that you interviewed with quite a few schools and that too most recently. So what has been your experience on interviewing with the multiple schools and what part of preparation is the most important when you are interviewing at the one-year MBA programs?
I think we do have to tailor our responses with respect to a particular school that we're applying for, particularly when they ask the question, why this particular school? So our responses need to be tailored to suit the needs of that school. Right? So that's one thing. Other than that, I think most of the preparation remains similar. There needs to be clarity with respect to where we are headed and why that particular MBA of that particular school will help me, and also not a little bit, quite some awareness about the extracurriculars or what kind of activities are available, which can add value to the course that we will pursue at a particular school. So that thing will be different for every school.
Right. And Sandeep, coming back to the question that we had asked you previously, that is about, your experience, or tell us about a day in the class at an IMA PGPX, the classroom experience.
Okay, so typically, the class, at least in term one, two, like, they starts at 8:45 a.m. sharp. The prof will enter, and we follow a case-based methodology. So before the class, you actually have to read a case. You have to come prepared with the case, and the case will be discussed by the prof in the class. So you will see in an MBA class, a lot of the people who are sitting there, the students who are sitting there, they'll be coming out with a lot of perspectives from different angles, from different thought processes. So, that is basically CP, we call it class participation. So a lot of discussions over that particular case happen in the class. And typically we have like three classes, or spanned across 75 minutes each. So 8:45 to say 1 p.m., like the day will stretch a normal day. And after that, in like, you might have a surprise quiz also. So you will always be on your toes that, okay, a surprise quiz can happen at 2:30. Suddenly a notification will come while you are having your lunch that an email saying you have a surprise quiz at 2:30, and then you just have your lunch quickly and just run for the quiz. So that is how they keep you on your toes. So it's all about that, the IMA experience. It's very true that A in IMA stands for academics. So the academics there are very, very rigorous, trust me. They will literally, your 1 year is like, be ready to sacrifice a lot of things for academics. So, but it depends on you how you are managing your different things, how productive are you throughout your day. That is what they are teaching you at Ahmedabad, how to be productive with your studies, academics, your extracurriculars, your personal time, everything. That is what a typical IMA day sounds like.
Right. And one follow-up question on this is that, for the people who are entering the school or entering the program in a few
Mm.
days from now, what would be a good preparation? What should they go into the class with?
So I
Okay.
can pick this up. So just enjoy your vacations. That's all. Take a chill. Spend time with your families. That's the best thing that you can do, because uh, there's nothing here that you can plan. So if you very most of the professors here say that if you come planned with to IMA, your planning will go for a toss. It's the variability that they add in the process that will grill you. So it's, I would say, come with an open mind, be ready to observe whatever is being thrown at you. There'll be some days where you'll have a bad day where the professors might shout at you or say that you're not performing well, but it's okay. You'll have a day where you'll be performing really well. So just be in that state of mind that you are ready to fail, because this is one place that you can fail, and there won't be any implications as such, major implications as such in the if you fail in a business or in any presentation. So it's okay to fail here sometimes, in the good sense, because it will help you learn. Apart from that, don't plan too much, because any planning that you do will go for a toss.
Nice. And do tell us about the day in the life, at the IMA PGPX in terms of the clubs and activities that you have on campus.
So I
Yeah,
can take up the activities, clubs, Sandeep.
yeah,
So in terms
Yeah,
of
sure.
activities, we do have sports activities, we do have swimming, we do have a fully functional gym, we do have a badminton court, lawn tennis courts that you can go and play around. Apart from that, we have volleyball, football courts that you can go and play around. So activities, there's no limit in terms of the activities or in terms of the infrastructure that the campus can provide you. So it's all about trade-offs that you will figure out once you enter the course. So it's all about whether you can sacrifice your sleep and play, or whether it's all about trade-offs that you might have to figure out for yourself once you're in the campus.
yeah.
Right. And Sudeep, do take up the clubs part,
Yeah,
please.
so before taking the clubs, I think on activities, just I would like to add a bit more that apart from what Sandeep said, there are also things like, speaker sessions and, fests, cultural fests, sports fests, tech, management fests, business summits, etc., that keep on happening on the campus. So every day there is something happening on the campus, and you would not be able to attend each and everything. So you have to make your choices on what activities you have to pursue at campus, which activities you have to be part during your time at the campus. There is a plethora of things that are happening on a regular basis on each day. So yeah, there is no dearth of that. Coming to the clubs part, so in IIM Ahmedabad, like PGPX MBA, we have clubs from a lot of industries, consulting club. I myself was a part of a consulting club because I came from that background. There are energy clubs, healthcare clubs, clubs from industry backgrounds, as well as on the cultural side also we have clubs like the cultural Cultex, and there's something student interest groups also. All these clubs are student run. uh, and suppose when I was a part of consulting club in IIM Ahmedabad, so what we used to do is we used to conduct a lot of sessions on consulting, like interview preparation sessions for consulting companies, how to do case interviews, how to crack management consulting interviews. Those are the things where we used to do for the batch. So suppose I am conducting an event for my batch to help my batchmates, how to crack a case interview and all things like that. So that is where the clubs come in. The clubs are responsible for conducting all these activities to kind of help the batch and kind of propagate the agenda which they are formed. So yeah, that is about the clubs, and it's an interesting part of the clubs because you get to network a lot with different people, with people, with professors, with people in industries. So that is where the clubs play a crucial role in your personal development during your time at Ahmedabad.
Right. And Ajinkya, in case you would like to, talk about your international immersion, what was the experience about, and how was it like spending that time, and what should be the expectations?
Yeah, actually, um, it was a bit of relaxing time, considering that academics plays a havoc in your life. You are means totally engrossed in academics right from the first term until I think it's end of the second term, when your international immersion starts. You have 2 weeks wherein you'll be having classes in whatever the location or B school that you visit. You'll have some time to roam, I mean, to see various cities. Uh, the main learning that you can get from these programs is how the culture in these various countries is different, and how does that different culture and geography define different business practices in those countries, how the economies in various countries is different. As for example, I went to Europe for ESCP Berlin plus Paris campus, and we were able to understand how the French economy as well as German economy are different, how the European Union as a whole works as a kind of a single group, wherein India is a self-sustained nation on its own. Uh, but in European economy, all of the nations depend on each other and are working collaboratively. So all of these learnings you are able to gain, and I think it also prepares you for your future if you are working with international clients, or if you're planning to work abroad as well.
Very true. And Arpit, as a an admit to the just the incoming class, what is the preparation that you have undergone, just to be ready for the IMA PGPX experience?
Well, as far as preparation is concerned, as per the advice of our seniors, we have. I'm brushing up a little bit on the basics of finance because we've been told that this is one of the most difficult subjects that's going to be, statistics and balance sheets, analysis of financial statements. So brushing up on that, and few consult books, case books have been shared with us, by them, and we're going through them how to write a case study, how to analyze a case. Uh, and the most important of all, they've said to relax and chill because it's going to be very tedious once we get there.
Very hectic.
So we're taking our time, and one other thing, getting the sleep schedule in order.
Excellent. Right.
Waking
For
up
the
early,
people who
sleeping late,
are,
and managing myself with black coffee. I think.
and that's a very important preparation that you have to get into. Right.
Yeah.
So for the people who are, comparing and researching MBA programs right now, what would be your suggestions for them to, set the right expectations from the IIM Ahmedabad PGPX experience on the whole? Ajinkya, in case, we'll just go in the reverse order. And Ajinkya, in case you would like to share your thoughts on this. When somebody is suggesting or looking at, comparing programs, there are a lot of programs at this particular level now in India itself. So what is it that you should set your expectations at from the IMA PGPX experience as such?
Okay, so the expectations should be that you will be if you'll be transformed in multiple ways. Your thought process will be transformed, and you will get much more clarity on your future goals as well. As in, yes, you will go in with certain goals, but it will be a journey wherein you will reassess your goals again and again. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And then also see how the economy is performing. What are your options? And handle all of the academics. So I think it overall creates makes you a better person to be able to handle multiple things at the same time, as well as increases your clarity, so that you can achieve that higher growth or whatever your goal is, and your goal is clarified in that 1 year. You can take that 1 year to clarify your goal, so that at the end of it you can means carve a right path for your future career. So, and yes, you can shift industries, shift functions, all of that you can do with right preparation, uh, uh, right goal set right from the start, and then yes, you can deviate a little bit in during the course as well.
Excellent. And Sandeep, what would be your thoughts on, what should be the expectations from the IMA PGPX experience as such when somebody is evaluating this program?
So see, when you are researching and trying to kind of compare different programs, so each program has gone its own advantages if you compare it with other programs. For example, if you compare it with say ISB, for example, so ISB's minimum work ex is 2 years. Maybe more of the class there will be on the younger side. That is what you can safely assume. In IMA, the minimum work ex is 4 years. Of course, the average work ex of the class will be a little bit on the higher side, say somewhere between 6 to 6.5 to 7 years. That is what based on last year's statistics. So average work ex of the class is kind of more on the seniority level. So people who are sitting in the class come with a very rich experience in their industries, in their respective industries. So in a class of IMA PGPX, you can expect a very rich uh, professional experience that is sitting in your class, and it depends on you how you are able to leverage that experience to learn the maximum from your colleagues. The more you talk with the people in a PGPX class, the more you interact with them, the more you learn from their past experiences. That is what I can say. And suppose if you compare Ahmedabad PGPX with say Bangalore EPGP, so I think until at least till last year, so people in EPGP have to stay out of the campus. They do not have a hostel facility within the campus. I don't know if it has come this year, but say PGPX, it has. You have to stay at the campus, just like any other normal full-time MBA program. So every program has got its own positives, negatives, and like that. So it depends on
Right.
you. What do you want out of the program? Accordingly, do your research, see where you fit in well, and accordingly choose that program.
Correct. And Sandeep, what are your thoughts as to, what should be a good expectation or level of expectations from somebody who's evaluating the IMA PGPX specifically?
So, uh, I would look at it in terms of your personal goals that you want to achieve. So, one thing that you can do is reach out to the alums across all the schools. Any alum would be readily willing to help you out. They'll be helping you out, like what was their choice of making this call between A, B, and C, or let's say A, B, and ISB. Let's say a few people wanted to get into a particular industry because of which they choose ISB, or they wanted to get a higher learning experience, higher discussion with an more experienced cohort that they choose a IMA versus C, or they wanted more quant specific that they choose C. So be sure of what exactly you want to achieve and which school will help you achieve it. So I think if you can research those talking through alums, that would help you achieve those. Apart from that, in terms of the curriculum, almost everything is same. It's all about the goals that you want to achieve. So in terms of IMA, at least in terms of the case-based approach that they typically have here, it's basically there's no set answer that any professor will tell you, because each case can be dealt in multiple ways. It's all about the discussions that happen during the class that would be your key takeaway. Like if this happens, what would be the particular solution, or if this happens. So it's basically the PNC combinations that you discuss or reflect upon in a case. So that would be one of the key things that you can consider, especially in IMA.
Right. Excellent. And thank you everybody for joining us so late at in the evening. And we really, the inputs that you shared were really helpful, and they will be valuable for the people who are going to compare the programs and they're going to prepare for the admission cycle. Thank you very much once again for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Shruti. Great
Thank you.
interacting
Thank
with
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.